Welcome everyone to this hour of bringing solutions, particularly in the business and agribusiness market. Ed Bartling here, your internal wholesaler with Financial Markets, a diamond partner. And we again want to thank Big I of South Dakota for asking us to participate in this virtual conference today. So let's get started. There was a professor, and it was getting towards the end of the semester. And there were students, his students, they had been taking all this semester a organic biology class. Now we knew that a lot of these seniors would be going to medical school right after their graduation here. And so this was the final exam. And so he comes into the classroom, they're all seated, ready for the exam. And he says to the class, I want to thank you very much for your participation this semester. I really enjoyed this class. And I have this announcement. He says, I know this was one of the last classes for a lot of you, even this week. And maybe you partied a little bit too much. So those of you who wish, instead of taking the exam, you can come and sign off and you will receive a B for the class. For the whole class, you'll receive a B. And no sooner did he say that than, boy, a lot of people were getting up and they were getting in line and they were thanking the professor so much for this. And they were getting that. Professor looks and there's a few left there. And he said, okay, last chance. And maybe one more, couple more get up and they go like that. And the rest of the ones that were remaining, they were ready. And so he gets his papers ready where he's going to maybe hand out the exam. And he says to them, again, I want to thank you for participating in this class. And I particularly want to thank you for the confidence that you have in yourself. Everyone that has remained here today is going to receive an A. No exam needed. Confidence. It takes confidence. Hopefully today, when we get done, you're going to have more confidence than you had before in the business needs and the agribusiness needs for life insurance for your clients. That's what we're here for today. So let's get started on the subject for today. Business solutions. Solutions, you're always looking and very good at uncovering solutions for your clients. And keep in mind that we all suffer from that infobesity, including your clients. They're going to get bombarded by different forms of information that is going to maybe satisfy their needs. And they may come to you for questions. They're used to coming to you. You're the trusted choice. You're taking care of their P&C needs. So they might ask you about some life solutions there. And we're here to help you gain that confidence to be able to listen to them and let us then assist you with their needs there that they have. So we're here to provide solutions. And a lot of times they're looking in three arenas here. One being for their business itself. How are they going to be taking care of some different risks there? Then it is for their key employees. They're looking for solutions for the welfare of their key employees. And then finally, a lot of times businesses, you'll find small businesses, particularly in farm and ranch, they're considering their business as being very much a big part of their retirement. And they're looking at ways that they can assure that lifestyle that they are currently in or looking forward to is going to be reached there. There was a study and it was showing that of the different priorities, kind of following this here, that 46% have business protection as being their number one. Then number two being offering of health and wellness solutions for themselves and their employees. So for their key employees. And number three, then protecting their income. Number three was protecting their income. And then four, we got into qualified plans, setting up for their lifestyle down the road by setting up qualified plans. And then number five was that of setting up then group benefits for their clients, Breaking that down a little bit, solutions possibly for their business, we'll be looking at key person protection. Clients of theirs that are key, so important to that business, that if, God forbid, they passed away yesterday, there would be a big void there to fill. For their business succession. I've worked 50 years and now I want to retire. What is the business succession? Solutions for their key employees. How am I going to retain that key employee? Again, maybe providing what I would call maybe a golden handshake, a golden handcuff. Maybe by setting up a type of bonus plan, a supplemental executive retirement plan. Using a concept called split dollar, where we split the premium dollars that's needed. And then at the end of the trail, let's call it, we will split the death benefit. The participants being that key employee and Mrs. Employer herself. Or maybe deferred compensation plans. They defer some of their compensation to pay off down the road. Then Mr. and Mrs. Employer, their lifestyle, setting up retirement plans or understanding that estate planning is going to come into need, particularly if the tax environment changes. Again, the question comes up, do you think estate taxes are going to increase or decrease? Do you think estate exemptions are going to increase or decrease? Solutions. In financial markets, we look at different resources that we can bring to you out there in the field that will help with these solutions. And we look at different carriers to look at their tools for those different arenas, be it key employee insurance need or business owner need. We also like to look at the approaches that they use and have they been tried and true, and the support that we're able to provide you by the carrier supporting us. One of these carriers then is in the corner. You can see on my right-hand side is Principal. Principal is a business insurance need solution provider. Let me give you some examples of what I mean there. They have a dedicated team then to us that team will look at a business and help you with the needs by a certain group of attorneys, a certain group of underwriters, and then a certain group of internal wholesalers. That threesome and the continuity of it being that team, then we are very comfortable of the relationship that we built with them, that we can then have that carry over to you to bring you that support that is needed. And some of those benefits as we go through here, I'll be bringing forth. So here's an example of some of the work that Principal has done. And these came from 2018 numbers here of proposals and then actual plans that then they were able to provide. You know, one of the beginning questions maybe in dealing with the business arena itself is, what's a business worth? And maybe more foundational would be, what type of business are you working with, maybe through your commercial casualty business? Are they sole proprietors? Are they maybe sub-S corporations or LLCs or even C Corps? All of them would maybe have different tax elements, as you know of, and then it can carry over on what is the business worth? What is the business worth? And what approach are they using to define on what they mean by worth? Are they using an asset approach on their accumulated? Are they using an income approach? Or are they using the market? The market says that it's going to be worth this much. What approach there? That helps them. And as you're listening, then you're able to maybe take some of these informational facts down, bring it back to your internal wholesaler here at Financial Markets, and then we can assist you with that particular solution there. So, and another question that's often used, when was the last time they've had their business evaluated to help them with this business work? Have they ever done so? And if so, when? Just basic real estate. I was hearing yesterday, right here in Rapid City, on homes, they're saying the value of homes have increased 10% in 1 year. 10% in 1 year. So the question again, have they done a buy-sell review? They're looking at then at a certain age, they're going to retire, and then someone is going to take over the business. Have they reviewed that? Have they looked at what the elements of the buy-sell review itself is? You know, there's a current business information available that 96% of businesses out there, particularly small business, getting this information from the Small Business Administration, their value is not current. And those that have brought it current in the next 5 years, they do not have the necessary buy-sell triggers in their buy-sell program itself. They may have a buy-sell setup if death occurs. That's maybe just one risk. There also could be the risk of disability. That could be a risk that you're able to help them with, so that the buy-sell agreement itself could be fulfilled if they then, if that event happens by the solution that you can provide there. Also, there can be the buy-sell that this event is going to take place, that of retirement, as I say. Maybe it's time that you hear of that the father and mother are going to retire from the farm ranch. Certain relatives, maybe son's going to take it over, and they're going to buy a home and move into town. Okay. How is that whole cycle, that buy-sell, taking place there? Divorce could then transpire and cause maybe an earlier than anyone maybe thought of a buy-sell that could be needed. Maybe in a professional organization, a loss of a license permanently of one of the partners can also then force maybe a buy-sell prematurely. All of these are triggers that maybe under their existing, or maybe their verbal, or what are their woulda, shoulda, couldas that they haven't thought of, that you're able to bring to the table there. Bankruptcy, maybe a termination just of employment itself there could be some of the factors that come into play there. Some prospects to think of there would be existing clients, maybe your commercial base itself. Established businesses from 1 to 30 employees, and certain maybe professional, scientific, and technical services themselves there. Example, we have up in Deadwood, we would have the scientific community organizations there, businesses and those executives there to maybe be speaking of there. We have a manufacturer here in Rapid City that is making certain feed bunks, if I want to call it that, for cattle, which then the way that the bunk is made itself, it's scientifically able to prove that it cuts down on the methane. 1 to 30 employees. Excellent prospect. I will point out on this one part of the slide, that little box, it says farm and ranches. Farm and ranches, they already kind of know, particular with their number of head of cattle, average wise, their land, farm, and so forth, what the value is. So we don't need to maybe help establish the value, as they already know that. So farm and ranches, they have a whole separate program, they being a principal that we work with. The other challenges they bring out is nonprofits, and you can see a financial agency such as insurance agency themselves. They have a little harder time in providing some of their resources there. To get a business proposal, then you would be just contacting your internal wholesaler. And as you talk through the case itself, that internal wholesaler here at Financial Markets can help you then set that up, okay? And what we're speaking of here is then they may have an existing buy-sell agreement already set into place. With the aid of Financial Markets, we're able to help you look at the existing situation. After looking at the existing situation, what possible solutions can be. I talked about some different triggering points that may cause the buy-sell. That may not be contained in the buy-sell that they have right now. By working with us, we're able to get to principal the existing buy-sell agreement itself, if it exists, and they will then review that with that team that I mentioned of the attorneys and internal wholesalers, and then they will then bring that back to you. In fact, they will be willing to talk to you and your client. They will never talk to your client by themselves, but they'll talk to your client and you together on the existing buy-sell agreement. They will also then talk to their attorney, talk to their CPA. All of that whole cycle, they will be a very important part. So as I said, principal very much is in the arena and bringing solutions by like jumping in the pool and being there with us. And they say that the average turnaround for this buy-sell review is about 20 business days. I would not recommend asking them about their buy-sell review when you're doing your renewal of your commercial insurance that you got in place there. Let that annual review and that review take place. Maybe plant the seed of the additional benefit of doing business with you, such as the buy-sell review, but don't jump into that water right then. Let that be then a seed that's planted that later that you can be looking at there. How about some key employees? A lot of small business very much has some key employees in place there, that there would be a big void, of course, if they passed away, but particularly it would affect the business. So we're looking at ways to recruit, to retain and reward then our key employees. And we have then ways to be able to look at what their current situation is, such as Social Security, the qualified benefits, maybe the 401k that they've set up, and their lifestyle that they're currently at and that they would be looking forward to, and seeing if there is, as it points out, a gap there and what we can do to assist with that, particularly with maybe permanent insurance. So key employees, right benefits can make all the difference in the world. To, as we say, to recruit, to reward, retain, and down the road when they're ready to retire itself. Here's kind of a grid here that we can see, okay? So we could set up a plan where we bonus the employee. When I bonus the employee, then when I give them a bonus and they're going to use the bonus to buy life insurance, I give them a bonus so it's like other income, and so it's going to be a deduction to me, the employer. That employee would own that policy totally by themselves. Okay? Where on the other end of the spectrum, we would see then where then we set up a deferred compensation plan, maybe a defined contribution. I know I'm going to set up $1,000 a month for this particular key employee, and as such, then the employer would have control over that particular policy. In the middle of the spectrum there, you see a loan split dollar. What that would be is that the employer would be paying all or part of the premium. And then when the employee would get a point in their lifestyle that they then part of that living value, called the cash value, equaling the premiums that the employer paid, would be returned to the employer. And if the interim, then the employee passed away, then again, the amount of premiums that the employer paid would be going to that employer as beneficiary, and the balance would go to the personal beneficiary that the employee named. Now, by the use of combining premiums or employer paying all the premiums, you can see that there'd be the leverage there, and there'd be much, much more of a death benefit and cash value available to that key employee who I'm looking to retain and reward. So you can see there's some different avenues that we can be looking at and structure them as we do the fact finder. And your internal wholesaler has an excellent fact finder. And in fact, working with your internal wholesaler, we can get information on a key employee, and principal will aid us and tell us under this standard code, and in this particular region, here's what the average then value of this key employee is. So we have a benchmark starting point for this particular key employee, the functions as we describe them, and from that, then we can build onto it in more discovery done by the employer. Purpose being to retain and reward, to retain and reward. Again, it's easier to succeed in business market with the solutions. Principal has the different solutions that come about, and the expertise, that SME that I speak of, subject matter expertise. They, over the years, have very much come to the forefront, and they're at the forefront with us of being in the business market. And then the itself. Every year, if you bought a deferred comp plan that we helped you set up, every year you would get a detail of all of the participants of that particular employer. So they're not just there to sell a policy and then they get nothing more than an annual statement. Particularly in the business insurance arena, they will get a full report there, and they're there to help all the way. Let's look a little bit on the agribusiness solutions. By agribusiness solutions, as I said, many times we already know the value of the land. We know of the major assets of the farm ranch. And that being our starting point, we can still avail ourselves to the different resources available to us to help with that particular need, and possible uncover needs that they haven't thought of there. And by agribusiness, it's very expansive. It could be, of course, the livestock in our areas here, the grains itself, maybe vegetable farming. We're getting more, there's more wineries opening up around South Dakota here than before. Now, we may not have the tobacco, but we may have marijuana. And we do have some resources at financial markets, because as they set up that marijuana industry, there may be loans, there may be obligations as the new business is set up, and they may need to have insurance to cover those loans. Contact your internal wholesaler, and we can help in that agribusiness market, the ever expanding market here in South Dakota, in the marijuana industry itself. And nurseries and greenhouses. I knew south of Sioux Falls, when I lived there, there was a big a Christmas tree farm there. And he started small, and it was a family business, and it grew and grew and grew. So don't think of maybe necessarily the first two of livestock and the grain farmer. Again, they are, of course, a very big majority, but the greenhouses, the nurseries, and then the up and coming marijuana industries are going to need your solutions. Oh, look at this. 98% of farms and ranches are family owned. Family owned. So they're going to need and look at different complex of solutions there. And you already have their trust by being their trusted choice agent. Let's look at some different arenas here. We could have a business organization and some different strategies as we go across. And of course, the other elements to think of estate planning and then retirement, when again, maybe where mom and dad move into town itself. Want to be the questions of what type of entity do we have here? Is it a partnership? Is it a sole proprietorship? Is it maybe an LLC has been set up? As they understand that, then come back full circle and bring up then the liability protections of them setting up such a way. Then maybe it is time to talk to them about succession strategy. We know down the road that mom and dad are going to move into town. You know, during that life path, one factor that maybe they haven't thought of, and it can affect what would happen if during this life path we're getting ready for mom and dad to move into town, a long-term care event takes place. A long-term care event takes place. Do we have that set up in looking and setting up the buy-sell agreement itself? Also in that succession planning comes to play, you can have, as you know, family members that have put in sweat equity into that farm ranch, maybe much more than maybe some other siblings. And then the factor comes into play of equity and fairness. How does the family feel about that, of those definitions of fairness and equity? The use of life insurance can be a key factor, very much a key factor, to help substantiate that everyone gets a good feeling when we hear of those two words, equity and fairness. There may be key players that have been on the farm ranch for a number of years and they are not family members. That key person protection. How are we protecting them? How are we looking at retaining them? As mom and dad moves into town, are the key employees still going to stay on that farm ranch? Then we get into the next area of estate planning and wills and trusts. A friend of mine, an elder attorney here in town, Quentin Riggins is his name, and he was raised on a farm ranch, so he very much knows that arena here we're speaking of. He says, Ed, I set up a lot of time and it didn't stock show. Over a stock show, he says, that's when I have the majority of my appointments. Number one, usually we'll get a lot of the stakeholders there so we can set up that meeting. And they're in a good frame of mind to talk. And we'll talk over the wills and trusts. We will talk over the living wills, the power of attorneys, things that maybe, as you said, that long-term care event, what happens there? are we able to prepare for that? And if they say, well, we're going to sell this certain section of land to take care of long-term care events, then everyone understands that. And maybe some are not comfortable with that. And then we can speak on long-term care need itself. As we said, then we speak of in the estate planning, that fairness and equalization. Then we move into estate taxes. And again, I bring forth just this week, Senator Sanders then proposed legislation that the estate tax exemption be set down to 3.5 million. So even lower than it would be 2025, down to 3.5 million. There can be different ways of looking to get some taxes collected to pay for some obligations that's already been made out there. And it could be that estate taxes, particularly the exemptions as we know it, could very much change. That means if that is on the horizon, even if they have a plan in place, folks, for estate planning, it needs to maybe be revisited. You could be that solution. You could be that solution. Have the confidence that we're here to help you to be part of that solution. Part of that solution could be gifting techniques, where then they use their personal gifting exemptions to start the process of gifting to particular family members as the need may come. And finally, we get to where then mom and dad are moving into town and we're at the retirement income. Let's look at the existing retirement analysis. Maybe how much of then cash flow is going to be needed to help mom and dad when they are in town. What supplemental income can we maybe set up there? And then finally, as I pointed out in that life trail, as it may be changing, a chronic illness protection need. Chronic illness protection. They say what 7 out of 10 of us baby boomers are going to need long-term care. That includes mom and dad that's moving into town. Agribusiness solutions. So as we said, it could be set up different ways. A sole proprietorship, one person. A partnership, again, what happens at death at one of these different arenas here? What happens at death at sole proprietorship? What happens when one of the partners die? We could have a family limited partnership set up. Maybe it's time for them to look at setting up as a sub-S corporation. Are there advantages of looking at that? So one being the question, what is your current business entity? And is there any advantage of looking at some different arenas there? And remember, we have as our resource, then which is really your resource, attorneys right there that'll talk to us, and if need be, talk to the client, their CPA and attorneys as we look at these solutions itself. The C corporation, and think of each one of these. Do you think maybe even the tax element on each one of those are going to be changing in the environment that we're in, and may cause then a time to look at what is my current situation? Is there advantage for us to set ourselves up going forward in a different business entity itself? So we have the C Corp and then the LLC itself. So there can be then different elements of these entity types and looking at different income taxations as they transfer assets itself and how profits are handled and so forth. Again, in the agribusiness, particularly, we have family and non-family. And believe me, if you got family, and you got 3 sons, then as you sit around the table, there's not mom and dad and 3 sons. Very much possibly there are in-laws. And in-laws will do their input. Along with in-laws, there could be, I mentioned the word divorce. There could be divorces that had taken place in the past, and now they come to the forefront as the business solutions are being looked at there, because they may have heirs that need to be taken into account also. So you can have family, and yet family can be enlarged, particularly if divorces take place. And there could be those key employees, and we call them the non-family members, and the importance that they play in this farm and ranch, and in treating them in a fair and equitable way. So a lot of times we hear in the agribusiness, mom and pop saying, I want to treat everyone fairly, and we particularly don't want to be a burden on anyone. We want to treat everyone fairly, and we don't want to be a burden on anyone. Now, as easy as that sounds, there can be many, many definitions of what mom and dad just said. And each particularly the family members, they may have their own definitions. And by being that outside party that comes in, then that helps you explore some of these things and maybe ask questions and do that exploration that they're not comfortable with. Now, keep in mind, folks, life insurance is not an easy topic that a lot of people want to talk about, right? But you don't want to apologize that you have been their trusted choice agent and you've never talked to them about life insurance. Never talked to them about long-term care. That is where we're here to help you. We're here to help you. Now, that non-family member, it could be that maybe now you're going to set the business entity structure up that they're going to be a co-owner. That being the case, then a buy-sell agreement would maybe need to be set in place, and that all the different factors that could trigger a buy-sell needs to come into place also to make sure that those risks are taken care of. And if I'm going to then sell business to this co-owner, how is the business going to then get the money for that person's part of the business itself? We see also in this fair and equity that sometimes mom and dad will just gift part of the farm ranch to the family members, just straight out gift it to them or give them to grandchildren. And then the ones who put the sweat equity in, they will have a lot of partners. And maybe they don't want all those partners. Maybe buying those individuals out of their part of the ownership isn't what needs to be explored there. It's fine if they want to gift that to them, but then in gifting them to them, then they become a silent partner, but they're not so silent to the one that's working and doing all the sweat equity on the farm ranch. And of course, at death, there could be then a bequest itself that are taking place there. And so here's some hypotheticals of setting up where then they are borrowing money, or maybe they have the money straight out to then buy into the farm ranch itself, or maybe they are down the road going to set up a sinking fund that at the end of a certain time period, then they will be buying their particular part of the business itself. And then finally we see, and look at what the cost of that is, the leverage, the springboard leverage of using life insurance to take care of this need, itself. That is a big, big advantage there, folks, of using life insurance. And one of the possible life insurance policies that's used, in particular, if that estate tax exemption starts to go away or get reduced, and keep this product in mind, please, a survivor policy, a permanent policy that is a survivor policy. That survivor policy then it pays the death benefit at the death of the second person, at the death of the second person. And it combines the health of both people. So you can have one of the mom and dad who's maybe totally uninsurable, but taking advantage of a survivor permanent policy, then the health of the other spouse then helps then provide and take care of that same risk and need. So using those discounted dollars of pennies for dollars of life insurance, big advantage there. And this just gives a little bit of a, for the analyticals, an example of a installment note to for the person to purchase their share of that entity farm ranch. As we said, an important place there on the estate planning is wills and trust. Do we have a medical power of attorney in place? Do we have a financial power of attorney in place? And does all the family members know that? We had this year, I know a close friend, her mother got the COVID and she was taken to Sioux Falls, South Dakota. Well, the two sisters, one wanted to take her to Mayo, another one wanted to bring her back home to where that daughter lived, and that was in Montana. One wanted to do what the hospital wanted to do, take him to Mayo. The other one wanted to go bring her back home to me in Montana. The one had the medical power of attorney. Mom stayed in Sioux Falls and was set up to go to Mayo. Sad to say, mom passed away. Mom passed away. A living will. Is there a living will set up in place there? These minute little details here, they need to come from an attorney, an elder law attorney. And we have, at least around Rapid here, I've got recommendations that you could contact me with. But it's very important to get the credentials of that elder law attorney. The will itself, is it up to date? Again, has there been name changes? Things of this sort. Is there a revocable living trust? Is there a family trust in place? Have we set up an irrevocable life insurance trust? Doing so, getting some tax advantages, Do I know all the details of it? I have to know about the case itself, but I know our internal wholesaler can be one of those SMEs that you can call upon. Distribution plans, setting up the distribution of the income to come into mom and dad, maybe to others, maybe distributions of qualified plans that they have in place. And then we look at then the current situation. Here's an example of the current situation and how then life insurance can come into place to then get to that sense of fair and equal. Again, maybe one, in this case, maybe one son doing much more of the sweat equity than the other children, their siblings. Here's a retirement analysis looking at then what they have and what we want to get to at the end of the road, and what different sources we have in building that there. All this analysis that I'm showing you examples of, we can get this for you, for your client, with the principal. By the way, the cost of this to you, nothing at all. No cost at all. Talking to their CPA, talking to, no cost at all. Doing the key employee review, no cost at all. Doing the buy-sell review, no cost at all. Setting up a buy-sell recommendation plan, no cost at all. Not at all to you. And in fact, folks, there's no production requirement on you. When you get licensed with principal, we don't have a production requirement set up on you. That is upon us here at Financial Markets. As I said, 7 out of 10 people, baby boomers, are going to need chronic illness care. Do we know the details of where we want mom and dad to go? Where do they want to go? And there's getting to be less and less long-term care facilities available, folks. All these areas, key areas, we are here then to work. What's the business organization itself? Starting point there. Do they have any succession strategies set up? And do we have any estate planning that need to be done? Because usually, again, 95% of our farm ranches are family owned. They're going to be passed on. They're going to be passed on. And as mom and dad moves into town, do we have an established retirement plan set up, taking care of critical illness? All of that, we're here to help you look at the business strategies and the business solutions for your clients' small business, as well as the agribusiness itself. So I want to thank you very, very much. If you have any questions or like some resources, maybe we sparked your interest and you'd like some of these resources, please contact me, Edward.Bartling at fmiAgent.com or marketing@fmiAgent.com. Just mentioned that you'd like, and we can sure get in contact with you and get that sent to you there. I will get the list sent to me from Big I, and then we will get your CE certificates sent to you the same way. I again want to thank you so much for your business in 2020 and look forward to a very prosperous 2021. And remember this, folks, blessed are those who ease the pain of misfortune, for they shall be called insurance agents. You have a good day.